Hey everyone. My name is Christoph Jakob. I just fell down that hill and I'm a music composer for video games.
As you all know, I'm a huge fan of the Splatoon series. In fact, I've made a total of 46 videos just on the music of Splatoon 3 alone. For comparison, the game that I've made the second most videos on is actually The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, even though it's only a total of 6 videos. What got me into Splatoon wasn't actually Splatoon 3 though. I've been a fan of this franchise since 2018, and I've put more than 3,000 hours into Splatoon 2 between 2018 and 2022. Don't judge me, you did the same thing, Victoria. In the following weeks and months, let's look at some iconic tunes from both Splatoon and Splatoon 2. I'll try to find out why I like them so much. Today, let's start with one of my personal favorite multiplayer tunes from all 3 games. Rip Entry by Wet Floor. I have covered this tune on bass. I've made a 16-bit remix in the style of classic Sonic games. And I've also made an Omega 3 style remix of it. So yeah, I think it's kinda sorta alright. Let's check it out. The guitar tone is so amazing. The intro guitar riff, to me, is iconic. When I think of Splatoon 2's general music approach, the first thing that always comes to mind is exactly this groovy and funky, almost a little Jimi Hendrix-esque sound. Do people these days still know who Jimi Hendrix is? In short, the guitar is almost treated like a percussion instrument. Very playful and using a lot of so-called ghost notes. A ghost note means that if you mess up this note, you will be haunted for the next 7 years of your life. And ghost notes are basically notes that do not ring. Notes that are muted and thus sound more like drums or rhythmic fills, but played on a guitar. If I were to play the riff without any ghost notes, it would sound something like this. To achieve this groovy and funky style though, what you need to do is getting into the habit of treating your arm like a constant pendulum or machine almost. In the case of Rip Entry, a very fast one. You're now trying to always play all 6 strings, letting only those strings ring that you currently need. By doing that, the guitar riff sounds something like this. Listen to the bass. The bass is... I'm basically the bass right now. Very bouncy and jumpy. While the volume of the guitar has now been drastically reduced, it is still playing the same riff that we just heard in the background, with a few different little ending fills here and there. Drums enter and they are playing one of the most forward grooves you could possibly think of. It's mostly just an alternating kick drum and a snare drum, with a tambourine in between. This simplicity in the drums actually helps make the tune feel a little more groovy and funky. If the drums were too complex, that could honestly ruin the entire piece of music. The true star, not just of Rip Entry, but of Wet Floor as a whole, is the bass in my opinion. Bass mentioned! Bass mentioned! In this section, the bass is supported by a synth that is playing the exact same ostinato. Ostinato is just a fancy word for a melodically or rhythmically repeating musical figure. A lot of people who covered this tune on bass before are actually not playing it correctly. It sounds like it goes something like this. What's actually being played is slightly different though. We start playing octaves on the note A, then we move to C. But after that, we don't actually go to G, but instead we go to the note F sharp, a note that is a tritone away from C and doesn't even really fit into the key. And I'd say that it is exactly this one note that makes Rib Entry so interesting to listen to, giving it a more quirky, lighthearted, and also odd vibe. But I mean that in the best ways possible. While you could argue that this tune is written in the key of A minor, I would say it's actually written in the key of A Dorian. To understand what Dorian is, all you need to know is that it's like a minor scale. But instead of the flat 6, which is natural in all minor scales, we have a regular 6. Dorian is kinda in between minor and major. It's brighter than minor, but it's a little darker than major. And a lot of video game composers love using it because of that. Very bouncy and jumpy. Like, I think the bass is the star of this tune, to be honest. Key change. Yes, that is a key change. I love the back and forth in the vocals. The main vocals also kick in now. And while I think that they sound pretty awesome, I'd personally say that they are clearly not the focus of the music. Or just in general, they are not the focus of Wet Floor's style. Wet Floor is all about funky grooves and pretty insane bass lines. There are two things that I really like about the vocal approach in Rib Entry though. First of all, what is commonly known as call and response, which is actually quite self-explanatory. One voice starts by coming up with some sort of melodic line, a question if you so will, and the second voice is reacting to it in a similar manner, a response if you so will.
What in the world is wrong with you? Can't you just act normally like me, for example?
The second thing that I really like about the vocals is that they actually sound a lot like Sprechgesang. So an in-between thingy of normal singing and rapping. While there is a rough melodic outline, the vocals don't seem to target specific notes. Once again, the star of the section is the bass though.
Bass mentioned! Bass mentioned!
This is one of my absolute favorite bass lines from all three games, and I'm going to try and play along to it. What's quite unusual about a tune that's only 1 minute long until it loops is that there's actually a key change. We're moving from A Dorian one whole step up to B Dorian. That is basically it. And now, pay attention. It's so playful, so quirky. And back to the original key. And you barely even notice that it is a key change, but it is one. The final section is probably meant to serve as some sort of breather. Due to the sudden disappearance of the tambourine, which had been present the entire time, and the addition of a lot of crash cymbal hits, the drums feel a little slower. What I absolutely love about the drums is that there's moments where they rhythmically imitate the melody, like this. Moments like this tend to stick out to me. I actually think they are quite special. Harmonically speaking, one thing that I instantly noticed is that tritones are still very present here. A tritone, as you may know, is one of the most dissonant intervals in music. Here are some examples. I really like just how smoothly the tune manages to find its way back to the original key. Yeah, don't forget what I said earlier, we've actually changed key. The key change back, however, is so subtle, you barely even notice that there's a key change in the first place. I just think stuff like that is super cool. And back to the original key. And you barely even notice that it is a key change, but it is one. And so on. What is your opinion on rip entry or just wet floor as a whole? If you didn't like them before, do you appreciate their style a little more now? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Like this video and subscribe to this channel in case you have not already. I'm actually going to link my two rip entry. I'm actually going going insane. I'm actually going to link my 2 remixes of Rip. Was ist denn los? Das gibt's doch gar nicht. I'm actually going to link my 2 remixes of Rip. Okay, slow. Calm down. It's not even a difficult sentence. Come on. I'm going to link my 2 remixes. I'm going to link my 2 remixes of Rip entry in the end card. You can check that out. That's good enough. Thanks, and I'll see you all next time.